All right, welcome back to the NewOrleans.Football show, presented by PJ's Coffee, locations all over the city to get your day started right, all over the country, actually, including my hometown of Davenport, Iowa, as we found out the last time I went back there. I'm here, Mike Triplett, with Brandon Thomas. We're coming to you live from the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio. We're right across the street from another supporter of the show, Matt Bowers. His dealerships are all over the region as well. He will get you right. Good prices, great customer care. Check him out the next time you're looking to buy a new car. Now let's get into the ads.
Ochsner Health inspires healthier lives and stronger communities through a combination of standard-setting expertise, quality, and connection not found anywhere else in the region. To learn more about how Ochsner empowers people to get well and stay well, visit ochsner.org. Long live you.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Time for a new watch? Go check out Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' wide array of Breitling watches at their showroom on Maple Street. They have every type of watch that you want, and they can get you right for any type of occasion. And while you're there, check out their engagement salon. They'll make sure you find the perfect ring for that special someone. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect watch, ring, or whatever else you're looking to buy. Visit them today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett, 504-866-5433, or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
It's time for the lead, presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the official jeweler of the New Orleans Saints. They will take care of all your jewelry needs, including a great selection of Breitling watches, all kinds of makes and models. You go there, and they will take care of you, whatever you're looking for.
Let's get into the lead topic. What position battles are we looking most forward to going into training camp? On Monday, we talked a little bit about the preview of Taylor versus McKinstry, but let's get into some other names, including them, on the battles that we're looking forward to and what is most important.
Yeah, I feel like that one might be number one on my list. Okay. I guess the other one is Pete Werner versus Willie Gay Jr. Yeah. Taylor McKinstry is so interesting to me, though. I mean, technically it's 4 guys battling for 3 spots. Marshawn Lattimore, if he's there, he's got a job. Paulson Adebo, if he's there, he's got a job on the outside. The reason I'm so fascinated by Taylor and McKinstry, technically probably battling for the slot, even though I think we will see them moving around playing multiple positions, is I'm so interested in their futures. You know, if McKinstry can win that job right away and be off and running, how good can he be? We've talked a lot about how Alontae Taylor might be even better on the outside. I don't think he'll get that opportunity. If he doesn't find a job, what does it mean for his long-term future? Does this make someone expendable next offseason? I'm just it's four guys I want to see on the field. So not only do I want to see who wins those battles, I want to see if the Saints are creative enough to possibly get all four on the field. Is one of these guys playing safety and dime packages? Is there enough snaps for Alontae Taylor, McKinstry? But that's one I'm fascinated by, in part because we haven't seen McKinstry out there yet.
Right. During the summer, DA, he's expressed openly that they're not just playing in the slot or cornerback wherever they end up at. They were going to have to play multiple positions, including safety. So it's very interesting to see where McKinstry is going to end up being. And if he could come in, take that job early, coming off of that type of injury, and really play, then that just opens up the possibilities across the board, because what else could he do?
Well, and Alontae Taylor, look, I mean, it reminds me so much of last summer when we thought Alontae Taylor was going to come in and steal the job away from Adebo. Yeah. And Adebo had an incredible summer and then an incredible season.
Yeah.
It's Alontae Taylor's turn to do that now. Mm-hmm. We're excited by what McKinstry could be, but this is a big pivotal time heading into Alontae Taylor's third year for him to say, no, I'm not letting anyone beat me out of this job. And I'm really fascinated to see how he responds to it. And I guess how he responds to it is the exact way to describe Werner and Gay, because it's interesting. Pete Werner is one of the best players on this team. A year ago, we were saying we did our top 21 players. He was tied for 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we thought up. And he had kind of he didn't have a down year last year. It just plateaued.
Yeah.
And then they signed Willie Gay Jr. in free agency, and Khalil Hudson, and draft Jalen Ford. And I asked Dennis Allen about it, and he goes, I think Pete took that as a challenge. I hope he took it as a challenge. He's not sugarcoating anything there. He's saying, we're challenging Pete Werner. And I think Pete Werner had a great spring. I think he's the guy to beat. Mm-hmm. He's the guy I predict will win that job, but he's got to do it. I mean, and the third guy will get on the field. They'll find ways to get the third guy on the field, but not a lot. I mean, they're not all of a sudden going to play three linebackers. We just talked about they're going to play 5 DBs all the time.
Well, it's funny that you bring up Dennis Allen's comments, because when it comes to defensive players and, more so letting Kubiak handle the offense, he's not sugarcoating it when it comes to challenging them. Last season with Cam Jordan and his reduced snaps at certain points, he was like, well, you see who's not on the field and things like that. So I think Pete taking that as a challenge of, hey, we brought somebody in to challenge you for your spot. It's on him to respond to that throughout training camp. But another battle that I was looking at also, going into more of the rotational kind of thing, is Foskey and Turner.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about?
No, they're on my list as well. I mean, so we think Chase Young if healthy, Carl Granderson if healthy, and then there's a place for Cam Jordan on this team. Reduced snaps might serve him well and keep him fresh. Those are the top 3 guys, barring injury. So Turner and Foskey might be playing for only one guy gets to be active on game days. Or I think they both make the roster. Certainly Foskey will make the roster. I think Peyton Turner will too. And obviously health is always a concern with Turner, but that's really fascinating. There's not room for 5 defensive ends to all get good snaps on this team. So those 2 guys are playing for a lot. I mean, it's sort of Turner versus Turner in a way. I mean, every time we've seen him, he looks ready and then he can't stay healthy. But Foskey had one of the best springs of anybody, and he's got more of a long-term future. So if he shows he's ready, they're going to want him on the field. That's really one of the most.
Yeah, and I think he has to be ready. Peyton Turner, he's fighting for a contract. He's fighting for his career.
Yeah,
he's fighting his career more or less to be able to stay on the field and be able to show people that, okay, I can be healthy. I could contribute to a team on the defensive side of the ball. Because last year, I think it was that Atlanta game was one of the only games he played, and he contributed. He had a fumble recovery, which is big, but he has to have more of a dominating presence, actually, doing defensive actions. But I think Foskey, him being able to say, hey, you drafted me for a reason, and being able to solidify himself as a rotational piece on this defensive line is very important. Now, let's move on kind of to more of the secondary, kind of not secondary in terms of defense, secondary in terms of like second tier.
Yeah.
Hainer and Rattler. You drafted Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, the funny thing about Hainer and Rattler is it's a position battle, and you hope neither one of them plays a snap all year. But I think we're going to chronicle that as much as anything else that happens in camp. Yeah. I mean, it's really fascinating. And first of all, they both have to prove that the Saints don't need to make a phone call anywhere else, that they don't need to sign somebody else's veteran at the end of camp, that whoever wins this battle has to prove they're ready to be one snap away from playing a game, starting a game for the Saints if Derek Carr gets hurt. And then, I mean, the winner of that battle is potentially getting the opportunity to be an heir in the future, maybe have a career as a starter in this league. The other one, I mean, you don't want to fall behind the other young guy.
No.
So it's quite possible that Haener is good enough to be the temporary number 2, and Rattler has the higher long-term ceiling as a future number 1 potentially. But either one of them can jumpstart their status for now and for the long-term future. And I think we're kind of curious. Like I don't think either one feels like the plan as the heir to Derek Carr one day. But they get this opportunity to at least put it in the Saints' minds that they should be a consideration. I think it's a huge summer for both those guys.
Definitely. Last summer, Jake Haener, towards the end, he had got a suspension, so he wasn't able to be out there like that. And Jameis Winston, starter in the league for a couple of years, was able to hold that spot down.
Much different situation now.
Right.
Now, and they're going to get valuable snaps, and they're going to be starting preseason games. I mean, it's a real summer for these guys.
Definitely. And along with that, Haener coming in, you're like, oh, well, they drafted Rattler, so it's going to be more of a toss-up. But Haener came in and he showed.
I love the way he responded. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here. I need to be here. I took the offseason to work with John Gruden and different people like that to try to elevate my game coming into this and being in this new offense where everybody's kind of starting off at an even spot. I think he's shown during minicamp and OTAs that.
I love the response we saw from him. I think we said, we debated, can that qualify for camp MVP, but definitely camp most improved player. It reminds me of what we were just talking about with Adebo versus Taylor last year. Like, I'm not giving this up just because everyone's all excited about the young guy. Another one I have on here that's not quite the traditional this guy versus this guy for a spot. It's kind of like what I said, Peyton Turner versus himself. I mean, Trevor Penning at right tackle and Nick Saldiveri at left guard, they're not switching every other day. They're getting the opportunity. But there's 2 veterans, Lucas Patrick, who I think looks ready to play a key role if needed. I think he's going to make this team at guard or center, backup. And Oli Udoh, who was hurt during the spring, has starting experience at both tackle and guard. They're just waiting. If one of those guys slips up, then they get an opening, and they're the fallback option. So Penning and Saldiveri need to play well enough to make sure it doesn't become a battle versus Lucas Patrick and Oli Udoh, I think. And obviously we talked about Penning as an individual, one of the individuals we can't wait to see out there. But their hold on those jobs are they have expiration dates on them if they don't look ready.
And that's the funny thing about this. We say it's a battle, but it's more of the guy waiting in the wings has to stay ready.
Yeah.
Because if you stay ready, you have a chance to come in and snipe this position and solidify yourself as a contributor on the team in a major way. Another battle that kind of in that same kind of vein is who's going to be able to play tight end after Taysom Hill and
you
Foster.
Just show up and you get a job there, right? I mean, I guess look, Foster Moreau, we said he's going to play valuable snaps. Taysom Hill, he's going to play whatever role Taysom Hill he plays. But yeah, Dallin Holker, Michael Jacobson. I guess the battle for Dallin Holker and Michael Jacobson, both of who looked really good in the spring and took advantage of the opportunity to be out there, is I guess they need to show the Saints you don't have to bring in a proven veteran. You don't have to trade for anyone. You don't have to sign some. As we look, there's not a lot out there in free agency anyway.
No.
But they need to prove, we're good enough to be tight end 3 behind. If Jawan Johnson's not going to be ready in week 1, you can activate us and start us on the field in week 1. And, Dallin Holker is really interesting. We're going to talk more about the rookie class in a minute, but he has shown the flashes to maybe be something even more than we're expecting. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up too high. He's a smaller guy. I don't think he'll be able to block that effectively right away as a rookie, but they have great opportunity. Another one where I think there's an even bigger opportunity along the same vein is wide receivers 3 and 4. I mean, they're sort of the same void there. The big pass catching tight end, the big receiver. Is it A.T. Perry? Is it Cedric Wilson, who I think has got a role in this team one way or another, both those guys. But Equanimeous St. Brown had one of the more impressive, I think, springs, and he wants to maybe try to leapfrog one or both of those guys. So that's going to be a really interesting
You were really high on Cedric Wilson during the spring practices and things like that.
Yeah, he just looks like the pro out there. And Nick has made this point a bunch. We've all made this point. Year after year, we always say, hey, the 6th-year veteran looks really good out there because the other guys are all learning the playbook, and that sometimes wears off over time. But I think, look, Cedric Wilson was catching passes on 3rd down with the ones and 2-minute drills. He's going to probably be their best blocker, him or St. Brown. I just think he's going to get on the field a lot.
Well, that'll take us into our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Monday, we talked about, we just talked about McKinstry and Rattler. And Monday, we talked about Talifuaga. Those are people that we know we're going to see on the field in some type of capacity. Rattler, lesser so because he has to earn that second string job. But what about the rest of the rookie class? What else have you seen? Who else can contribute?
Yeah, well, look, we'll start with Bub Means, the receiver that they drafted in the 5th round, because I guess he's in that mix too. I mean, I didn't just mention him with A.T. Perry, Cedric Wilson, and Equanimous St. Brown. But if he can compete with those guys, it's kind of what, I mean, you're anywhere from the 3rd receiver to, I think, redshirt freshman sort of thing, which we've seen a lot, which is I think he makes the 53-man roster, but is he healthy and active every week? Or could he be a guy that says, hey, you don't need to keep Equanimous St. Brown around here. I can do some of those things. And, I think Cedric Wilson and A.T. Perry I have kind of written in pen. So Means needs to show maybe, but I don't know. I feel like he's a little behind now. I'm really interested to see. Yeah. Same thing, Jalen Ford. I like the draft pick, the linebacker in the 5th round, but where does he get snaps? I mean, I guess he could try to prove that he's going to earn them on special teams, which he did do at Texas. And, does that make someone like DeMarco Jackson or Kalika Hudson expendable, or is he sort of a redshirt freshman too? And he might even be one that has to go to the practice squad. 6th round pick, Christian Boyd. They do have an opening for a nose tackle, but he's coming from Northern Iowa.
Smallest school.
Is he ready to be active right away? Another one. Like, is he more practice squad material? And then the offensive tackle in the 7th round was Josiah Ezram, who you had making your 53-man roster. He feels really raw. I don't know what to expect from these guys. My gut right now is none of them are active in week 1. Either they're on the practice squad or they're on the 53-man roster, but they're a healthy scratch for week 1. But they all get the next 6 weeks to surprise us. Is there anyone on that list you think could be playing in week 1?
Playing in week 1 as in not a press the button panic scenario?
Yeah.
Or as in
not because people got hurt. Yeah, like they earned snaps.
The closest person I can say off the rip, maybe Christian Boyd, just as a rotational.
The opportunity.
But that's about it, because I didn't have Bub Means making my 53 initially because of the way St. Brown produced during those spring practices. But Jalen Ford, he's just coming back off that slight injury. I was talking to him before we left, and he was talking about just learning and absorbing things from the different coaches and from Demario Davis and being able to see that. So I don't know if he's ready to be able to be in that spot yet. Ezram, like you mentioned, the raw talent, but I had him making my 53 just because of the thinness on the offensive line. But yeah, Christian Boyd, if I had to choose somebody to have snaps week 1, Christian Boyd would be the only person that I can say in that spot of the draft picks that the Saints have made.
Undrafted rookies, we think Holker's playing week 1? At this
point,
probably, I think,
if he was included with that pool, because I had it as just the drafted people, but I mean, he was undrafted rookie. I would include him in there because
he almost outside of Talifuaga and Kool-Aid McKinstry, I would almost say he's the 3rd most likely to play snaps in week 1 of any rookie. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Christian Boyd versus him, maybe?
Well, no, I didn't even have him in because he was a UDFA.
Yeah.
But if I had to, it would be him, of course.
And then you mentioned the thinness on the offensive line. I think that gives the guards, Kyle Hergel, Nori Noeli, I think that gives them a possible chance. I'm not predicting it. And then most of these guys, it would have to be special teams, I think, to get them on the field. But one guy, I'll say it for you.
You can say it.
Millard Bradford.
There you go.
You were following him also. If he has a summer like he had a spring, he gets on the field. I think.
He had 3 interceptions during the OTAs and during minicamp. So he's been able to, we're going to get in this later about the cornerback culture on the team. But like I said, man, you hear people out there, they're not just calling 38. Who's 38? Who's 38? They know who you are. You're Millard Bradford. So you're making a name for yourself in a certain sense. So if he could carry that over from the spring practices to training camp, it's hard to find a way on the full roster, but
if he can play special teams too. And then we should have mentioned these guys probably in the position battles. Matthew Hayball, undrafted rookie punter, Charlie Smith, undrafted rookie kicker. I don't have either of them making it. You predicted
I had Charlie
Smith to
in
make
there.
it, but you better believe that there have been years past where that's like, hey, go let's go fetch a water while they're kicking and punting.
Yeah.
We're going to be chronicling everything they do when they're kicking and punting out there. At training
we're NewOrleans.Football. We chronicle everything. We
That's
literally
true.
did a
That's
minute
true.
by minute breakdown during minicamp. But that's definitely a position battle. The kicker battle is going to be very exciting. Look, I had Charlie making it, but if Blake makes it, he's still in pretty decent shape because we're able to see what he did last year. Well, that'll take us to our next segment presented by Shop Insurance, the Earhart Agency. ESPN, they started their annual position rankings, and running back that kicked off with the top 10. They polled executives, coaches, and scouts around the league, and Alvin Kamara was left outside of the top 10. He was only able to make it on the honorable mention round. So what do you think, man?
Your gut reaction is Alvin Kamara's not a top 10 running back, really, but, I get why people
are down.
Ranked it that way. There's a little out of sight, out of mind. Now, here's the thing. We've said this a bunch on the show. We said it while we were talking about what his value is worth. Even though he's about to turn 29, I think there's still gas left in the tank. Caught 75 passes last year, was on pace for 98 if he had played a full season. And we blame the offensive line, and we blame the offensive scheme as much for the reason why his numbers went. His numbers went down. They didn't go down as much as Jamal Williams' numbers went down. He was averaging like 2.9 a carry and barely scored one touchdown at the end of the season. So I don't think it's just Alvin Kamara's fault, but here's the list. Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Breece Hall, fine. Nick Chubb.
At 2? Over Chubb?
I'm saying, do they belong over Alvin Kamara?
Oh,
Nick
Chubb,
Nick Chubb gets, I don't know why he gets this unbelievable respect. He missed an entire season last year with a major knee injury. Still number 3 on this list. Like, I get it. He's good, but Saquon Barkley, 4. We're already getting into guys that you could make a case for Alvin. Jonathan Taylor, so many injuries on this list. John Robinson, you'd rather have him. He feels like he's ascending. Josh Jacobs, a little younger, done a little more recently. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously young and exciting. Derrick Henry, more like Alvin's age, but has been a little bit more productive recently. Travis Etienne Jr., honorable mentions. Aaron Jones, we're getting into the Kamara, Joe Mixon, honorable mention. I just think this is one of those ones where once you get past Christian McCaffrey, you could rank a guy honorable mention or 2 probably.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of what have you done for me lately on it. So I don't think it's a huge offense that Alvin was left off because he's not coming off a hugely productive season.
Sure.
But I think if this offensive scheme does for the running backs what we think it should, then I'd be very surprised if midway through the season people aren't considering him a lot more like 6 or 7 instead of out of the top 10.
And so I, like going through the list, a lot of these players have switched teams. Saquon is now with the Eagles. Jacobs, he went across the country. I think he's with Green Bay now. Henry, he's in Baltimore now.
Which means Aaron Jones is now out of Green Bay and he's in Minnesota.
Right.
Which means whoever was in Minnesota,
right. So there's a big carousel going on of
Derrick
the talent.
Henry in Baltimore. Yeah.
And this is not a contract conversation, but some of these people had to play for money. They had to play to get paid. And Alvin right now is in that kind of influx of will he return to training camp or not, due to that contract situation. So it's really kind of interesting to see how he's regarded amongst the rest of the running backs in the league. But here's the quote that they said in justifying Alvin being honorable mention. They said Kamara has been a fixture in the top 10 ranking as high as number 2 in 2021, but Kamara's production has been less efficient in recent seasons. He averaged 3.87 yards per carry since 2021, which is good enough for 830 yards per season. And, quote, he might have hit a little bit of a wall.
Yeah, he's just about to turn 29 in a couple weeks. And he's been doing it since 2017. Yeah. Every running back hits that same wall. Even McCaffrey hit one for a little while, even though he seems to have burst through it somehow. But he's the exception to the rule. Derrick Henry's hit a little bit of a wall.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs has hit a little bit of a wall. Dalvin Cook hit a big wall. Ezekiel Elliott got knocked down by the wall. Happens to all of them. So it's totally fair. But I do think I wouldn't be surprised at all if people change their opinion on that. I actually think Bill Barnwell, who put this out today, he ranked the skilled players as a whole for every NFL team today for ESPN, and he made a really good point about Alvin Kamara in that. He ranked the Saints skill position players at 25th, which is really low.
Very low.
But he makes a really good point. This is what he says. Do the Saints have 2 playmaker standouts? He says, depends how optimistic you are about Alvin Kamara. I'm confident in Chris Olave, which we all are.
Yeah.
But Kamara hasn't been an efficient runner for 3 seasons now since Drew Brees retired. All the same numbers that he just put out. But he said, on the other hand, he's still an excellent receiver. And he mentioned, Rashid Shaheed's a nice deep threat. They need to fill the veteran big man that's missing from Thomas. But his last line is, if new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak can get Kamara back on track, this group will rise back toward the teens. Completely agree. Kamara is sort of the mystery box.
And that's literally all it hinges on is the new offense and how it works. Because the ceiling could be top 10 in terms of just total offense. It could be top 10 if this new offense is clicking like we expect it to click. But it's definitely exciting going into training camp and seeing in the joint practice.
Hopefully Kamara's a big part of it. Hopefully they figure something out.
Definitely, hopefully he's a big part of that. But you got to get, you got to handle his business. You got to get paid. But, he had retweeted that clip that they put that early.
It's true. Look, it's a cold business. I mean, we talk about him cold. We love Alvin Kamara around here, but, we talk about how much if you have salary cap issues, how much do you want to pay a running back who's going to turn 30 next year? That's how the Saints have to talk about it, too. You can't just pay guys because you love them. You got to be smart about that stuff, too. So it's going to be a really hard negotiation. I mean, it's been that it was a hard negotiation for the Giants, even though they came across in that mic'd up segment as being a little more callous about it than you hope people are behind closed doors. But it doesn't make any of these decisions easy, even if you like the 30-year-old running back you want to pay.
Yep. Well, that'll take us to our break. When we come back, we'll hit the Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union money segment and the Martin's question of the day. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Shrimp Remoulade combos are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Zesty shrimp remoulade served with fried shrimp, catfish, or soft-shell crab starting at $10.99. Or try one of our spring specials, catfish lafitte or lemon caper fish with crab meat. Now at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Up next is the Money segment, brought to you by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Look, I'm introing this one because I'm going to heap praise on Brandon, who just wrote an article everyone needs to check out on NewOrleans.Football about the secondary. The collaboration going on from the old heads, as they say, like Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore when he came back, Paulson Adebo now becoming a veteran, and even the young guys like Miller Bradford. And just there's so much talent in there. Alontae Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jonathan Abram. There's so much talent in this group. And they really seem to be embracing like their role as, hey, we're the guys who are driving the train.
Definitely. And the thing that really stood out is the two differences in leadership styles between Lattimore and Matthew. Those are the two older guys in there. Matthew, he's more of a, hey, follow me, I'll show you the way. I'll take you under my wing, I'll build you up, I'll help you learn about this, learn about that. Just a bunch of off-the-field stuff, like just participating with these guys in action. But don't let that fool you and think that Lattimore is not also a leader, because he's like, look, I won't tell you what to do, but I'll show you what I do. And if you choose to come along with that, then follow along. So I think that's really interesting. Another thing is Millard Bradford. We talked about him a couple of segments ago. He's not guaranteed to be on this team like some of these other guys are, but he's taken just all the knowledge that he can from every player in that secondary to help build himself up and become an NFL player. So I think it's really interesting to see that. Abram was talking about, how he learns from Tyron, and even though they're, closer kind of in age, Abram is a little bit younger, but he's not a rookie. He's not a fresh player in this league. He's been on a couple different teams. And he was saying even coming out of college, like Tyron kind of was hitting him up and everything like that when they were rivals, when he played for the Raiders and Tyron played for the Chiefs. So it's very interesting to see the love that these guys have for each other in terms of development and everything like that. Tyron even said, like, hey, I could have been left. But the thing that's keeping me around is seeing these guys get paid. He mentioned, Adebo and Lattimore. Adebo and Taylor, but yeah, it was really interesting to see that.
Look, anybody who wants to get pessimistic about the Saints, which is really easy to do right now, if you're trying to be optimistic about the Saints, think of this group. I mean, this is a group you got to feel really good about. So I'm going to follow up. This is the money segment. Secondary is a money position for this team. I mean,
they are.
Are there any other contenders, or they're all battling for second place?
I mean, the secondary is really solid as a money position because you have who we picked as the number one player on this team. Yeah. So, I think quarterback
and the number 5 or 6 player Tyron.
Yeah, with Tyron.
7 or 8 player in
2 top 10. Yeah. So we had a lot of top 10 players that we chose for this team in the secondary. But I think quarterback, if this new offense could click like we expect it to click, I think Derek Carr can become one of the hallmark positions on this squad, because everywhere else you have so many different questions where you can't even be comfortable saying that in pencil to put them as close to being money.
Linebacker's a candidate.
Yeah.
Demario Davis obviously is one of the top money players, number 3 on our list, and then Pete Werner or Willie Gay, and the depth that they have there. I do like the linebacker position, but I don't know that they drive the train quite. I mean, this is the money position.
Yeah,
receiver.
The money position.
I like their young receiver mix, but there are you like they're part of the way there, and I like that they're going to keep getting better as they get older, but nothing like this.
I'm about to say, we're sitting here talking about who's fighting for that third receiver spot when you drafted, a couple of guys over the last couple of years. So it's hard to say that. You have playmakers, and I think you going back to that article that you were talking about with Barnwell, that's a very good question. We should kind of go more on that, because you have Olave. If Kamara doesn't show up physically or, play-wise.
I like Shaheed being part of my mix, but like, the number 2 guy, like super dependable, and like he feels more like he should be the 3rd guy that you like, not just number 2.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Look, Kendrick Miller, he kind of has to step up. He has to step up, regardless if he wants to or not. If Alvin doesn't show up, he has to step up. Jamal Williams, he has a chance to rebrand himself. I don't even think he really needs to do that, because a season ago, he was, there's a reason why he was able to come down here, but I think he needs to take a step forward also. But let's get into our money segment let's get into our Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked Barrel Select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Today's question is, do you think we will see some Derek Carr QB run plays in this new offense?
I don't. This question came out of left field for me. I decided to research it, though. I chose it, and I decided to research it, but I picked it for another reason. I don't think so. I mean, when Clint Kubiak was the offensive coordinator in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins' rushing numbers went slightly down. They didn't go up. They were about what they always were, but it was nothing special. Let me ask you real quick off the top of your head. Derek Carr's played 10 seasons. How many rushing touchdowns do you think Derek Carr has?
5.
6. You almost nailed it.
I was about to say it.
He had 3 in one season once, but
okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, his rushing attempts went way down last year. He had gotten over 100 3 years in a row, and then last year he had 32 attempts for 40 yards, so a lot of those are kneel downs. Yeah. So maybe he gets back to rushing for like 100 yards again, but no, and I don't think so because there's just too many other options, short yardage options, including Jamal Williams if he's going to play a bigger role. But Taysom Hill, I think, is the reason I chose this question is I think that's a bigger question is, will QB power still be a big part of this offense? Dennis Allen said adamantly that it still will be. That's not something we're going to see them practice a lot. Mm-hmm. Taysom Hill's not going to take a lot of QB snaps while these young guys are getting ready in camp. But those pages are absolutely still going to be in the playbook, as they should be, because that has continued to be incredibly effective, even when their run game was one of the worst in the NFL. So I hope that is still a big part of this offense, and I think it will be.
I think it should be. Yeah. I definitely think it should be. You know, when we were putting the script together and I was typing the question in, and I laughed, and you were like, you're laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing too.
Because what I thought,
I'm like, what, you want to draft him in your fantasy league, and you want to know is he going to run for 6 touchdowns this year? The answer is no.
No. And the play that I thought about in my head, it was later in Drew Brees' career, but it was against the Falcons, and
the spin move.
He was running on the outside. And I'm like, man, am I seeing a car crash about to happen live and in person? And then he spun, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, it wasn't.
He just used that to flex on somebody earlier this year, too. Breeze posted that when somebody talked about him being, like, slow or whatever.
Yeah, so I just thought about Derek Carr attempting to make those same moves. And I don't know. I'd never seen Derek Carr run in terms of convincingly being able to do it. But you have Taysom Hill on the team, man. Yeah. You have somebody who's built for that. So,
and I will never, I mean, I will fight forever for the people that, oh, this is too cute. It's too predictable. Well, it averages 5.5 yards a carry. So
can't argue with that. Can't argue with results. Well, that'll do it with this for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. For those who joined us live, we appreciate y'all. Overtime is next. And for those who aren't subscribed, we have 2 weeks until training camp. So you still have time to sign up to get the latest on the Saints. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football. Catch you next time.